606. Roll call of directors.
Good.
Maple,
Yes.
Stankowski,
Here.
Kaminsky,
Here.
Bauer,
Here.
Nest,
Here.
Nadler,
Here.
Zero,
Here.
Gorman,
Here.
Kaiser.
Here.
All present.
Awesome. Pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Item 4, approval of the agenda. Does anybody need any additions, any changes? We did have a few items, but they were taken care of before the meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Gorman to approve the agenda,
I'll second.
second by Ness. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item number 5, approval of the minutes from the June Board of Education meeting.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion by Kaiser,
I'll second.
second by Stankowski. Any discussion? You Calandra, usually you read it and find if there's a mistake. You did. Were you camping this time, or?
I was camping.
Okay, good for you. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Item 6, special presentation. We have the District Wellness Committee.
Yeah, I got Kurt here to present on that. Kurt took that over this year and has done a really nice job with the group. So he's got a presentation. It's something we have to annually do as per board policy, is update you guys on what the Wellness Committee did. One of the things that Kurt will touch on here and getting into it is some changes that have to be made to policy based on some recommendations from them. I'll just tell you that I'm in the middle. I started today at our next policy update, so that'll be coming to you for first reading next month.
Yeah, so thanks, Greg. Just kind of a little bit of history. You can scroll up a little, Christy. Kind of like the mission and the vision is to get a group of collective people throughout the community, teachers, students, staff, to kind of go through, and they actually have a nice assessment. It's called the WellSat assessment, to go through, and the WellSat basically goes through and it talks about the language that should be put into board policy that helps drive a positive wellness policy. So our first step kind of doing that was just to send that out and do that informally as a group, and then come back and then have a discussion about it. Through that, we kind of found out, if you scroll again, kind of like our vision is to continuously have wellness and drive partnerships through that, through the community and our staff and our students. So kind of the process that we went through, we started with our annual meeting, having discussions on kind of laying out the framework of what we want to go through and look at. And then through that, it was the WellSat assessment, along with our Mosinee grade report. So basically, what are the things that we truly hang our hat on that are wellness driven? And then comparing it to the actual policy language. So are we actually doing what our language states in our classrooms, in our facilities, through our lunch program, our nutrition program, which was also a part of the committee as well. So just kind of a background of how that was all communicated. From that, if you scroll, kind of our results is what we found that from our comparative analysis, that our language is really well, like our policy is written extremely well. Some things that we want to look at is kind of like what we found that brought our score down was some of the language, and the language is in there, but it was considered like loose language, like certain things are encouraged rather than we want to have this type of nutrition program. That they say we discourage having candy in the classroom rather than we'll not have candy in the classroom, those types of things. So some things that I just kind of suggested from the committee is that we just kind of look at that language and find out how do we want that language to look? Do we want to continue to have it that encouraged, or do we want it to be more driven? Some things that we wanted to look at and some recommendations is, number one, look at just the policy language, and just it was more that the loose type language. The other thing we came up with was classroom practices, really looking at, like, I think kind of when I left the district and came back, having the conversations about, like, what does fundraising look like? What do our practices look like when we're having, like, different activities and birthday parties, and what kind of snacks are coming in? So we kind of looked at, like, do we really want to have conversations around that on, you know, when we talk about the behaviors and we talk about the sugar and all of that and how it affects behaviors and moods of kids, do we want to have some serious conversations about that on what we want coming into the classrooms and things like that, and how we want to communicate that moving forward? The other thing we looked at is continuing to protect physical activity. That was one of our strengths that we had in the district, is that we, from our physical education and our health education standpoint, we do offer the higher level of engagement and activity minutes for our kids here in Mosinee. So then for that, now our next conversation was, how do we want to look at our discipline practices, and do we want punishment of physical activity to be part of that, or do we want to have other restorative methods rather than just taking away recess time when we know that's very beneficial for kids? And so we came up with some goals, and what we wanted to do is we wanted to look at improving our language by 15%, and that's simply just looking at that type of language and just changing those different words. The policy is written really well. It's more or less, do we want to be more strict on it, or do we want to encourage just the same language that we have? Looking and promoting healthy classrooms and just having conversations and collaborations around that, so that 85% of classrooms are really discouraging unhealthy snacks, foods, having suckers like in the room for free grabs, things like that. We even had conversations around our offices on what are the things that we have out in our office that kids can just grab and eat and things like that, and how do we want to give out incentives? Do we want to give out sodas, or do we want to give out different types of incentives? And then community engagement, reaching out and kind of getting feedback and surveys on how community feels about our wellness, and what does that look like from a whole perspective of community, holding each other accountable for, you know, as we move forward and we start doing more deep dives into what we're actually putting into our bodies. And so that's kind of everything in a nutshell of what we did, and like I said, it was a great conversation that kind of sparked more of that, how do we get more people involved with this and have healthy conversations around this, because we know kind of when we talk about behaviors and we talk about attendance and we talk about moods, you know, is the wellness and the things that we're doing, could that be affecting it? So, any questions?
I have a few.
Yeah.
So pertaining to, actually two questions. So pertaining to this report, is this for all the buildings?
Yes.
So are you able to like pull apart the buildings to see where you need to be strengthening, you know, the classroom, snacking?
Right, so that was kind of our conversations on, from when I brought it back to the admin team, do we start looking at making little wellness committees within each building?
Okay.
And saying, now coming back with goals, how are you promoting healthy classrooms within the elementary? How are you promoting healthy classrooms within middle school? And then that way, when we come together as our annual, we have that feedback from all those committees as well. So that
And
was kind
then-
of one thing we talked about.
For the physical activity, are you also taking into consider the extracurriculars? Activities that kids participate in, is that kind of tying into this as well? So maybe like an incentive for if kids are going out for extracurriculars, you know, that could tie in for that kind of report as well. I don't know if that's, or is it just recess and physical ed?
The WellSat specifically focused on just the school day.
Okay, got it.
And like the curriculum required minutes and things like that.
Could you tie the extracurricular activities into it?
We've had that discussion, and that was kind of why our strengths were, is the amount of involvement that we have,
Right.
and the same thing with our curriculum.
Okay.
So that was a big strength of ours.
So will you be giving suggestions to the schools for alternative, maybe snacks or, you know, juices or something, you know, that wouldn't be sugar, wouldn't be carbo, wouldn't be, you know, a lot of the things that aren't helping our children.
Right.
So, is somebody going to kind of put a list together so parents can, you know, it's a birthday, well, I'm getting the cupcakes from Piggly Wiggly, you know, rather than that, what else can they bring, you know, kind of thing.
And I think that's kind of that ongoing, what came out from this process was that conversation on how do we formulate those people and how do we get where it's community, it's staff, it's
Right.
even students too that are having these conversations too, even at the high school. So that's kind of what our next steps, like that's kind of what we're presenting to you as kind of just our findings. And then from there, it's more or less like how do we wanna go about this and how do we wanna approach it within our buildings.
Because I know, you know, if you could involve Piggly Wiggly or Mullins or, you know, some of the places in the area that have healthy snacks or, you know, different choices, you know, maybe you could get the community involved that way.
For sure.
In a sense.
That's kind of that was that tie to that community engagement.
Okay.
Of how do we get those businesses, like, talking about gluten-free options, things like that.
Right, okay.
How do you measure the community, something like the community engagement?
For like,
The-
for increasing?
Yeah, right.
I think we kind of looked at like reaching out to surveys and talking about how, like, what are the things that you hang your hat on with wellness and with that, are we bringing in education pieces from the community as well? So I think that kind of ties into how much involvement has come in to talk about wellness, how much involvement is on those committees, things like that.
Okay. So like a 50% increase, you're measuring that, I guess, what are you benchmarking that against?
I would say that would be more of like our wealth, I think that was the community base, like the involvement of it, cause in the past, we haven't had a lot of community, like businesses that come onto the committee and have those conversations. So I think that increased, so 50% looks big, but when you look at it, that's 3-4 people from businesses to be on the committee, cause of the numbers, right?
What? Go
How
ahead.
many people are on
There is on the agenda, they have a recommendation of each, I would say, in general, it's 17 to 20 people. And it's on the policy, where exactly how it's laid out.
Kurt, community involvement, obviously the pool's big. Do people still walk? And the other thing is, how much involvement are we gonna try to have with our new fitness weight room with the community?
I think that's kind of been that talk of bringing that back and having conversations around like, when we have the new fitness facility, is there a way, because now with our entrance, there's an access point where we can have actual, that going on. And then we even talked about, do we even have students doing youth apprenticeship hours at that desk?
Yeah.
To be there, servicing it, so that, the way the weight room's currently looking at, and we're looking to design it, is that it can fit classrooms and community in there at the same time.
That's awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks, Kurt.
Thank you. Okay, item 6.2, discussion library report.
So, I was fortunate enough to have Lori compile this before she retired. She sent it to me, in her last few days. She's like, I know you're gonna have to give this report, so she put it together for me,
That's
which
nice.
is fantastic.
Did you buy her pizza? Oh, no, don't get her pizza, get her sugar-free.
Yeah, give her an apple. No, so, some celebrations we had. We did have 2, people retire that had spent a lot of time in this district. And so we chose not to replace Lori at this time, and we're kind of going to restructure how students use the library. They're still going to go in the library, they're still going to check out books. Another assistant from the elementary slid into Mrs. Olson's spot there, and then Hannah's going to stay at the high school, and she welcomed a new baby this year, so that's Hattie. Just some statistics about the circulation desk and the size of our collection. We do have a lot of library books for kids to check out, and they do check out a lot of books. And then there's classes that ran out of the library last year. That's what's going to be restructured this year, so it's going to look a lot different moving forward. And then there was a lot of pictures which you can look at in the links that you have. And we did fix Chromebooks through the library as well. So we fixed a lot of Chromebooks.
That's humongous.
Yeah.
We do,
I mean,
yeah.
that really is humongous.
Yeah, so students just pay for the parts and not any of the labor, so the kids get to do all the labor of fixing the screens. That's the library report.
All right, thank you very much. Item 6, or any other questions? Okay, item 6.3, discussion, construction update. Steve?
Perfect, all right. So in front of you, you'll see, well, basically, we know the project has been bid out, and our contracts have been let to contractors. On this sheet in front of you, you'll see a list of the contractors that have contracts set to them. These contractors are all been vetted through Findorf, make sure things are not missed or omitted in their bids to ensure that they're equal, because that always happens in projects. Who included what? So we make sure that we're solid in that fact, because that does change the numbers at the end. We don't want our numbers changing. So that being said, we had actually 107 bids on this project for a bid pack 3, which is a bid pack we're kind of looking at here. That's actually a very good turnout for us, very, very good turnout. So we had that, our project is out in many places and around the state to look at and to bid. So we're very pleased with our contractors that we have on here. A lot of them have worked for us in the past. So that being said, Findorf did have some bids into this bid pack 3. They gave their bids to us a day prior to their bids being received from everybody else, and they were awarded one of the 3 bids. So that we know everybody's number is validated. But you know, if you look at this sheet here, you'll see there's a lot of people going to be on our job site, and there's a lot of folks that help put this project all together. And like I said, we know most of them, a lot of local contractors. We're glad, and we're looking forward to having a really, really good project. Okay, next sheet.
Steve, can you just talk, just so the board knows, we don't hold these contracts.
Correct.
So you just want to talk?
Yeah, yeah. So basically, those contracts are all through Findorf Construction. Our contract is with Findorf Construction, and that contract for the GMP, which is a guaranteed maximum price to the district, that has been solidified, and that price to them is $18,573,818, and that includes. There we go. So if you look at this sheet, these are all the sections in bid pack 3 that were bid out, division 1, 2, 3. As you walk through those, you can see what was included in that. And that being said, there's lots of parts that put building all together. And then of course the contractors on the first sheet you saw were selected from those divisions of what they submitted in their bids. Some people actually bid on 2 or 3 different items, you know, they were awarded some, depends what they can do and they're qualified to do. But at the end of that, if you can roll forward on that page.
We thought we'd put Tom in trial.
That's all right, you're doing good, Tom. Yeah, so you have this in your data packet as well. But as you go through all the different divisions, you know, we have on the division 31, 33, earthwork is the last really main division. We also have allowances in this project, which you have to have as you're building your whole entire project. There's things that are very small. Prime would be, you know, testing. So we have to have a company that comes in and will test our concrete. Every time we make a pour, they'll take that concrete off to the side and they'll be tested. And you have to make sure the compaction is right. So those are small contracts within a big contract, but you need that as the project goes through, because you have to verify what you did and make sure you got the right product on deck. So there's lots of pieces that are moving inside this project, but like I said, those are all held with Findorf Construction. They're handling those items. We also have some alternates in the bids that we had. If you go to the next page now. Yeah, so there was some, when we laid the project out, of course, cost is always a concern, where we're gonna sit with everything, and we don't know what our numbers are gonna be, so we had broken out alternates in this project to see what we could or couldn't afford. And as the numbers came in, we were able to accept those. We're very pleased with that. Wasn't sure if we're gonna get all the pieces that we're looking for, but as I told you right now, we have a GMP not to exceed, so we're protected in that regard.
You just, Steve, an alternate 7 we rejected, but that really wasn't.
Yeah, it's listed there. No, alternate 7 was an option in price and type of the equipment, but that came in much higher than our base piece, which I kind of figured it would, but it was worth a stab to take a peek at it. So our alternate subtotal, you can see that came in at 419. And then basically, we have some wants and desires we're going to work with. As the project goes through, you know, we have allowances made in this contract, but you don't know until you get the project rolling. And hopefully we come ahead on some of those allowances and we have options to do other things. So But I would say too, what we have set for our guaranteed maximum price in the contract, I'm very pleased to be sitting there. And we can handle it from that perspective. Just a couple of little notes, I guess I'll throw in there really quick. There's a couple things that are on ours, because I pulled them out separately. We have a separate contract for our HVAC controls, so I have a contract set up differently that goes directly to the district, because I don't need that going through another vendor. Every time it goes through a vendor, there's markup and cost and all that, increases your bonding. So some things, if I can pull out, I will, and I'm already under contract with that company as well. And then a little update, our state of Wisconsin review, plan review, was set for the 16th of July, and the state got ahead of themselves, which is great. So they actually completed their review of our plan July 11th. So I had actually, the plans came to me today, they're in my office. You know, the state approved plans will be on the job site.
They were actually pouring concrete today.
Yeah, well, I could break this up. When we set a plan to the state, we always ask for footings and foundations early, so they can review that piece of the puzzle, and we get an okay from the state to go ahead and do that work. And that's why we can pour the concrete that we're pouring and touch the ground, otherwise we don't touch it. But this is like the large piece of the project that the state takes time to review. And they have reviewed it, and we have an acceptance letter back from the state. A few things of, like they always do in the boilerplate for what to check and things we're doing. Because every building is designed differently, there's different fire issues. Remember, we're building a building against an existing building, and we have to make a fire barrier wall between the new building and the old building. And that being said, the reason that happens is the state allows us to do that. And if I'm over 12,000 square feet, I have to sprinkle it, which is fine. But so the new addition, everything inside will be under a full sprinkling system. But if they didn't put the firewall, I had to sprinkle your entire old building, and you couldn't afford to touch that with a 10-foot pole. So we pay for the firewall. I understand it's expensive, but it's nothing to the cost of retrofitting your building. So that's what happens in that regard, and that's then Steve Jamro's architect to put that together, work with the state. State can be kind of funny, because if you think about when you walk through a new building, you're gonna walk into the old building, right? There's quarters are gonna be happening. So we have double sets of doors that are to our fire system, which are hooked to magnetic pole locks. So that's how the state allows you to enter through those barriers, okay? And one other thing I would throw in there too with that is, since we are encompassing our gym currently, the egress out of the gym is a very important aspect. So we are actually cutting hallways to our existing building to get you out of the gym in the event of a fire or a hazard or something, because right now I can't use the code the way I put in the building. Those things just kind of get you. But we worked through all that. The state approved everything. We're very pleased with that. And then one more thing on us will be asbestos removal. That's always on the district. So that cost will be directed to us. I'll manage that with Findorf as we go through the project, and we'll pick those areas out as we can. And the last, can you take the last page now? The flyer? Was there a flyer?
No, it wasn't attached.
Oh, okay. So anyway, there'll be a flyer coming out from Findorf. They do this every 2 weeks of the project. It's really very nice. You'll see pictures, updates, and that's going to be posted to our website, so the public can track that as we roll. And that's a very nice way to go, so it's a good selling point. And keep people addressed what's happening and why we're doing what we're doing.
Tentative time frame for the new addition to be done?
Yeah, you know, we're working on schedule right now. I would say we'll have aspects of it done. You know, we're gonna walk into an interesting situation because we have a lot of demolition in the existing building, which is sandwiched between everything, the locker rooms and all that. So there'll be some talk down the road how we schedule that, because we don't want to tear old stuff out and drag it across my brand new floor and wreck what I just built. So those are some issues we have to work through. We're gonna have to take some of those areas probably a little bit early. Like Greg and I will work through that with the principals and see when we can have it. But predominantly, I'm hoping that by really, you know, April, fall weather goes good, part of May, we're substantially complete on our new addition. Not that we can have occupancy, the state's not gonna give it to me, but that doesn't mean get into those areas, maybe relocate certain things like ahead of time. But like I said, I hope the weather treats us well through fall. That's a big thing. Get this building buttoned up, and by fall, the roof on it, and then we can work inside.
Our precast panels are gonna come early,
Yes.
much earlier, so we won't be able to. We
Get a roof on.
Get a roof on it before
That's
the
awesome.
snow flies.
Yeah, they told us in November, first part of December, and now we got us moved in September, mid-September. So we're tickled pink to say that's coming, because I can't sit still without that. So yeah, we're very happy with those dates, and it pays to work with a good contractor, is all I can tell you.
Are we gonna be able to take those flyers? Do they go to the public somehow? The updates, I mean,
Yeah, we'll be.
put them social media, things like
Yep,
that?
Yep.
we talked about that today.
Okay,
So,
thanks.
Yeah, it'll be going on our website and.
Appreciate it.
Any questions I can answer for anyone?
I got a question,
Sure.
maybe it's too late
Part
for
of it
it,
because it's a
but
big one.
in particular, the HVAC equipment, local vendors,
Yes.
Greenheck,
Correct, right. We did a base design around Greenheck because of the new products that they offer for us. So that was our basis of design.
Great.
And, you know, it worked out actually very well. They rolled out some new pieces of equipment, which actually marries up to us very, very well. And the reason I went that way is because of the fact that we have very little hot water on this plan. And I did that on purpose because trying to maintain our costs. But when you do that, there's always a trick of the trade of what you're trading for temperatures and things of that nature, how you're gonna handle it. And what we were able to do with some of the new Greenheck products, because they're really pushing the envelope of what's new out there, they created some very nice pieces that are gonna give us some very good temperature control, a range. And I think you'll be very satisfied when we're done with all that. And the cost definitely helped us become within budget. We would never make budget if we put out hot water on. It just wouldn't happen. You'd add another $1 million on top of this because you're gonna boil plants and all that goes with it. We're using some hot water off our existing, but we had to look how we control costs, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm very pleased that Greenheck will be providing products for this job. And I think we're gonna be seeing in a very, very good light.
yeah, because a lot of people in the school district work at Greenheck.
Correct, yes, and they were very generous to us as well and worked with us, so I was very pleased that they put an effort up front to help us with this design, because it's a big process when you start laying all these buildings out and how you're gonna connect them and all the different pieces that come into it. But I would just say that we had a very good team for our architect and our engineers that came on board.
And to that point, Joel, another area on there was Wausau Tile was very good to
Oh,
us as
yeah,
well.
that's another good
With
one.
our,
Been very generous with
with our
what
tile, they were very generous to us on pricing,
Yes.
unbelievably generous to us on pricing of product.
That's awesome.
It helps us make our numbers, or we never would make it.
Yep.
So we thank everybody that put their project and time on this for us to get started.
And then obviously Newton, Van Aert, and
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Systems Technology,
Working
doing the
together.
design for us,
Yeah, they
saved us
basically
a
did
ton of
design
money
for
as
free.
well.
This is
So-
very complex.
There's a lot of moving parts, but you know, the thing I would say to you folks is that you can rest well because I have a guaranteed maximum price to complete. I have the right people on board, and I'm really looking forward to a great project. So if you have any questions that come up in your mind, you got my number, call me, I'm happy to answer your questions. And we'll have Greg will talk later down the road about our open house and when we do our groundbreaking ceremony with that. We're gonna be having ground broken because we can't wait for you guys, but we'll tie it in when Greg says to tie it in. But we gotta make hay when the sun shines, so there we go.
Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 7, public forum. The new policy is in place now. We have a clipboard now that will, Jackie has it, that you are allowed to sign up. If you want to talk about an agenda item, you can. If you want to talk about a non-agenda item, you also can. The board doesn't have to respond, the rules are the same. It's 3 minutes, nothing personal, no personal attacks. Has anybody signed up? Anybody wishing to talk or want to sign up? I just want everybody to know that when Kurt got this thing going, I grabbed the water, not another Pepsi. So if you're gonna speak publicly about that, I'm trying to do my part.
Changes already.
That's right. Okay, we will move on then. Item 8, consent agendas. There was one item from the Personnel Committee that we voted on, but it's coming to the full board. That's the employee handbook. We didn't pull, it automatically was pulled out because we felt it, but the committee did vote to approve that. Anything else from the chair with any of the other committees? Okay, everything went, no problems? Okay, I will seek a motion then to accept all the consent agendas.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Gorman,
Second.
second by Bauer. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Item 9, discussion, possible decision, approval of monthly voucher list.
I would make a motion to approve.
We have a motion
I'll second.
by Ness, we have a second by Gorman. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Stankowski,
Yes.
Zelinski,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Ness,
Yes.
Knadler,
Yes.
Zebro,
Yes.
Gorman,
Yes.
Kaiser,
Yes.
Maple,
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 10, discussion, possible decision, acceptance of monthly treasurer's report.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Ness,
I'll second it.
A second by Kaiser. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay.
Do we do a roll call?
Oh, pardon, roll call vote, thank you.
So.
Thank you.
Linsky,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Nest,
Yes.
Knadler,
Yes.
Zero,
Yes.
Gorman,
Yes.
Kaiser,
Yes.
Maple,
Yes.
Stankowski.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 11, new business, discussion and possible decision, physical restraint and seclusion report.
Yeah, this is me, Brian. This is our annual, every year we have to provide the physical seclusion and restraint report to the board. And this always falls in Brian's world. So Brian will be doing the presentation of it.
So, like Greg said, this is the annual report. One thing I like to do with you just to start off is kind of go over our rules and regulations that we have to follow, because I know we have some new members on the board. So the two acts that govern schools is Act 125 and 118, and it really does outline the training, the guidelines, the documentation, definitions that we have to follow as a school. The big changes that occurred recently were in March of 2022. One of the big things that they changed that we just have to be aware of, and our school resource officer and I have had conversations, is even if a police officer were to do something on school grounds, do a restraint or seclusion, that's now part of our numbers. Because the reason that was added in some different districts, things like that, they would say, oh, we don't want those numbers because we don't want to report them to the state. So they would call the police officers in to do the seclusion or restraint, because then they didn't have to report. Well, in March of 2022, that rule changed. So it's any seclusion or restraint that happens on our school grounds. As part of that too, they did clarify some additional things. I think it's been for the better to help us gain clarity about what seclusion and restraint is and isn't. But one of the things it did outline is we had to inform parents that there was a report available, and we didn't provide it to parents. They had to request it. Now, as part of the rule, after 3 days, we have to provide that to parents. So they know what the incident looked like, they know what all happened, what we tried, because that report is very detailed to say what happened prior to engaging in seclusion and restraint, and what did you do afterwards. So it lets parents know kind of what led up to everything and how are we gonna change future practices. Also, as part of that, it used to be best practice that the team had to come together who were involved in it to process it. It was best practice. Law required now within 24 hours of that incident, the team has to come together. There's a set agenda that I have as part of the documentation where they talk through what was the trigger, what was going on, how was it handled, what are you gonna do differently in the future? If we don't see improvement, what do we do? That's no longer best practice, that's a requirement of the law. And then the last two changes they made, if it's a student with a disability, because what happened, you used to be able to write seclusion and restraint into IEP saying this was a practice we use. They said you no longer can do that, because then that's your first resort, that's what you would always go to. So basically what they said, you're not writing into IEPs anymore, but if you use it twice within the same school year, you must have an IEP within 10 days to say, how are we supporting this student? Are our supports working, or do we need to change our approach to try to make this not a common practice? So it changed for the special ed world as well. And then,
Quick, sorry, do guardians have to sign off on that documentation then, when you supply that within 24 hours?
we do not have to have them sign off, it's just giving them a copy of the report, so.
Can I ask another question as
Go
well?
for it.
Along those lines, with the seclusion and restraint, what if the parents or guardians want that in the IEP from what you're saying, the state is saying, no, that should not be the first resort, but if parents are wanting that, can that be?
So we would document that if parents are saying, hey, if it hits this threshold, because our rule of when we use it as schools is if they are a threat to themselves or others. So what I do with the IEP, I'm not saying we don't use it, we just try to make sure we hit this threshold. So if they're saying we want it, like I will document the conversation and say, we're not saying we will never use it. We're saying if it hits this threshold, but if a parent's requesting like, hey, if my kid is doing something that's not of risk, I would explain to them that's not a time that you would really want us to use it and just talk that through with the family. But saying, hey, if your kid's running to a road, a car is coming, we are going to physically restrain so they don't run in front of a car, you know? So I explain that risk process so we can find out what is that common ground for us to say when is it appropriate for us to use it and when is it not. So that's how I would document it within
Okay.
that process. Does that answer your question? Okay. The last part too, one of the major changes that they came through, they said, hey, when you are training, it used to be we had to train people how to use the physical restraint, and that was the only requirement of the law. They said, no, we have to train staff, and we've been doing this as a district here for many years. You have to do that full, we call it nonviolent crisis training, where you talk about how are you de-escalating a student to not get to that point of physical restraint and seclusion. So how are we talking with students? How are we providing breaks? How are we doing different things so we're not having to engage in these practices? So the training now, it says, nope, you have to do the full training with both parts, how to restrain, but also how to de-escalate situations. And I'll say as one of your trainers for the district, really it's a 2-day certification training. A day and a half is spent on verbal de-escalation. It's spent on what are the different strategies. And it's only a half day on the physical. And one thing that we're trying as a district to be proactive, I actually this winter did the verbal de-escalation actually for our Lamers bus drivers to try to help them build their toolbox so when they're taking kids home, they have ways to help kids de-escalate or ideas or a toolbox to pull from that they had previously, but they may have tweaked further. So, then lastly, the thing that did not change, but it's there for you that you see, these are the things I have to communicate to you by October 1 in regards to number of seclusion and restraint and how many students with disabilities and without disabilities were involved. So what I like to do is give you kind of our 5-year trend. So the last 2 years, in 2023, 2024, you notice we kind of had an uptick there. Really in my year of coming to evaluate and look at that, we had a lot of staff, the definition wasn't clear of what it was. So like if someone was comforting a student or asking them to hold their hand as they walked to the office, since there was some physical touch, they documented that as restraint. Unlike if a student is willingly walking with you to the office holding your hand, that is not the definition of restraint. So I did a lot of education this last year to help people understand what did count, what didn't count. So that's where you see this year we have 4 incidences at the elementary, 1 at the high school, and none at the middle school or Pride Center. So our staff really worked hard, and the elementary, as you know, due to those numbers in 22 and 23 being high, we were identified as DPI for overuse of seclusion and restraint, so we had to come up with an action plan. And with the whole elementary staff, we did some of the nonviolent de-escalation training, whole staff, so people knew how to talk students down, how to try different things to help. But then you see who was involved. We have 3 students with disabilities that are part of those numbers and 1 student without. And here are the next steps. I'm gonna be working on this next year. One of them, because the data is a year behind, so step 5 that you will see, we did get identified for a second year for overuse of seclusion and restraint because of our 23-24 numbers. So when I report, we will hopefully be off watch after this year, but I'm working with Tom that will continue education, maybe do more scenarios with it to help, because we do have some new staff members that we can work through and help build their toolbox. Another thing too, we're gonna continue to work through our multi-level systems of support, that if we see this happening regularly, what are we doing to intervene and try different strategies. But that's my report. Any questions for it?
Who's all required to do this then? Any staff or employees?
So who we
Or
train
volunteers?
currently is all special education teachers and educational assistants. All principals are trained on it, and student services staff, so school counselors, school psychs. One of the things we have been talking about as an admin team, how we did it at the elementary and trained all of the staff on the non-violent side, just the verbal piece, that really is a good tool for all teachers to have. So how that would look is something we're trying to figure out, because to Dee Dee Yurkovsky and I are the only certified trainers we have. And to do that training, we are only allowed a certain number of staff at a time due to the company's rules. So we're trying to figure out how to work with both logistics to make that happen. But those are the people we currently require to get this training.
Other questions? Right, thank you very much.
Yeah, we need a motion.
Oh, we need a motion,
Second,
okay.
yep, to just do a formally.
Oh, okay.
I'll make the motion to
We have a motion by Gorman,
I'll second it.
second by Kaiser. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Item 11.2, discussion property, cyber liability, auto crime, and workman's compensation terms. Greg?
Yeah, last month, we asked you guys to just give Rod and I the authority to go forward and make a decision. I know I sent you an email outlining this, but I just wanted to bring it forward again to you that we did make the decision. We are switching to EMC. The quotes were similar, but EMC came in about $1,100 less. The big difference was on the workers' comp dividend, where EMC had a 10% higher dividend than WERMAC, which could result in our district's case of another $8,500. So all in, EMC was close to $10,000 cheaper, and they also had better coverage for the uninsured and underinsured motorists. I can tell you, I've worked with EMC before. They're an extremely reputable firm. EMC is interesting in how they're well known and used in the school sector for this kind of insurance, and EMC divides the state in half, and one company gets to sell one half of the state, one other company gets to sell the other half of the state. The company on our half of the state doesn't sell it all themselves. They have other brokers that they work through, so it's kind of a process, but it went really well, and I have a lot of confidence. So I don't know, Rod, if you have anything to add beyond that.
No, unless they had any questions. I think we had an email that detailed it out.
Yeah, we don't need a motion, we gave you that
Yep,
authority.
yep.
Excellent, but thank you for the communication. Item, anybody got any more questions? Okay, item 11.3, a discussion, possible decision 25-26 employee handbook.
Yeah, the employee handbook has gone through 2 months now with the personnel committee. One thing I would tell you, there's a little bit of work left I need to do on one part of Schedule G, which is the part of not the coaches, but more of the co-curricular, which is actually not coming forward for approval. The people in those positions aren't coming forward for approval until next month. But I'm asking for approval of the employee handbook, and then if there's changes to Schedule G, we'll bring them back to the personnel committee before we approve those individuals for that, because I just want to get this out to staff. The employee handbook as it sits now, there's not a ton of changes in it. Probably the biggest changes we made were, we made a lot of changes in terms of try to clean up language, consistent language, you know, adding some language that was missing. And we also tried to reference policy that referenced the language in it so people could look at the actual policy that corresponds to it. So it's just kind of more of a, I would say, just a complete go through and clean up the handbook and get it to a better spot in that regard. But I think one of the next challenge that I'm gonna have with it is I think some of the appendixes we need to take a long hard look at, and do they need to be in the employee handbook or can they be standalone? You know, like I would question if the extracurricular, co-curricular salary schedule needs to be in the employee handbook, or can it be a standalone kind of a thing, you know, and there's some other stuff that I would like to take a better look at. We also have to look at Schedule G as a whole. We're up for review of that, but yeah, that's the general gist.
The Personnel Committee did approve it, but we also felt it was important to have the entire board take, it's because it's our employee handbook.
Forget the name of the company that legally cites through all this stuff and scans for language. Do we go
Yeah.
against any of the
No.
recommendations?
No, I mean, Neola,
Or Neola,
yeah,
I'm
it
thinking
doesn't
next.
really, I mean, a lot of the language is directly related to policy. A lot of the language that's in the handbook that's related to policy is state statute driven, you know,
Yep.
the
So we haven't gone
non-discrimination, you know what I'm talking about. It's probably similar stuff to what you're aware of, Derek, where
Yep.
you are, you know, all the language the boilerplate language you need to have in there with
Yep.
all the different areas.
So we weren't making exceptions to anything in there.
One of the comments that was made earlier, Greg made it, is that we kind of just tried to clean things up. You know,
Nothing has really changed.
No.
no, but tried to clean up some language things
For
that were a little confusing. I don't know.
We had some language in there that was kind of probably a little outdated in some of the non-discrimination type Title IX areas. You know, we didn't do anything rogue with that per se, but some of the language was outdated and was lacking some important parts in it, like who the compliance officers are. That wasn't listed in the handbook. So there's some aspects of that were just outdated and were missing key factors. So that stuff was cleaned up. Probably the largest change calendar that was made is I worked with some staff around the sick bank language. That got messy this year, combination of reasons why, but that needed to get cleaned up. So we cleaned up the sick bank language to make it a little bit clearer and better understood and easier to enforce, or easier for people to understand.
I appreciate that you are involving staff members and having a discussion.
It's you know, the sick bank language is, the staff is the largest majority
Yeah.
users of that, so I wanted their input as well on what they were comfortable with.
If, I'll seek a motion then to accept.
Make that motion.
We have a motion by Bauer to accept the 25-26 employee handbook.
One second.
Got a second by Stankowski. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item 11.4, discussion and possible decision on the 25-26 school board meeting schedule.
Yeah, this is the school board meeting schedule we looked at last month. There was the one request for the change in October, which I believe was reflected in here, so seeking approval of this so we can get it posted for the world to see.
We have
I'll second.
a motion by Maple, a second by, was that Kaiser? Oh, Gorman, thank you. To accept the 25-26 school board meeting schedule. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Item 11.5, discussion and possible decision, board meeting location.
I was asked to put this on to look at moving this to what was commonly referred to as the high school study hall room, but is not going to be the study hall room anymore because study halls are going into the classrooms. So it's a fairly large room on the edge of the building, away from kind of that central hub that we had talked about last year with the library is in the central hub of all the gymnasiums and everything. This is, if you understand the building, it's the end of the building. It's like the second room in closest to the football bleachers on that corner of the building.
I'm the one that asked him to do this. With the new addition, when it's done, our board, we'll have our meetings in the boardroom, which is designed for that. So we're gonna be moving there anyways. All these tables, everything would go there, the chairs. I just feel a larger room, a bigger area is better, that's my feeling. Greg feels like it's better for him to be there. Greg wants to be in the building as much as he can, and I understand that, and I appreciate that he's gonna be with the principals, students, and things like that. When I taught, we used to call this the palace, that they were so disconnected from what was going on. And that's why I'm glad everybody's moving to the high school, because now if you have an HR question, you can just go down to the high school and ask. You don't have to worry about all this. So I'm the one who did it, and I think, Steve, we're not buying anything.
No, it's just a matter of moving.
Just a
whatever
matter
you
of
need
moving
to
it,
set up.
and we're not gonna use that room for really anything.
No.
So I'm the one, Greg, we talked to Greg, and I talked to Megan about it, we both agreed that this might be a good thing to do.
Which room is it again?
It's
high
the
school
old
study
study,
hall
but it used to be
room.
the old library,
Old library?
long time ago.
So are there a lot of activities at school? Because I know we discussed
Well, they can
this,
lock
so-
it down, that's the other thing.
No.
Well, we discussed this already, and we said the parking could be an issue.
Right.
Mhm.
I would say, I would argue where we talked about doing it last year was going to be difficult with parking because it was right in the center of the building. This is going to be on the very edge of the building, so I don't think parking is going to be nearly the issue, Calandra, than what it was.
Two things when he told me, we have the ability to lock it down so people, when a sporting event can't get to that part. We can open up the door by the football field, and then we can even there's parking right there. So I think that might be better than the library.
Does it have the same, is there a cost associated with like the video, the audio, anything
No,
like
and
that?
that would be easier to move. We're already putting some, not video and audio there, but that's not a difficult thing to move. We're already putting a TV in there just simply because that's where we're gonna be holding admin meetings and other, PD type meeting stuff in the building. Because it's a larger meeting space for us as a school to operate with.
So
My-
we have that stuff anyway, basically.
Yeah.
My other thing, Dave, was that I just want to get more people in the building. I think the more people we have in our buildings, I think the better off it's going to be, the more connection, the more we can get parents and people to be in our sporting events, our activities, see the construction, see what we're doing, be transparent about what's going on. One of the things I really heard from community members is when we did have the open house for the building, how many people really appreciated being able to see it. So. And I didn't feel comfortable making this decision without the approval of the board.
I think I'm a little concerned about doing this right now with the construction and not prior to the start of the year. I mean, I can see us looking down the road. But again, we only have August, I know we always have it, we had it in the library before. But I would really like to see the start of the school year and just see, making sure everything's smooth before we start moving in there and get that taken care of, but again, that's just me.
I understand.
I struggle with the fact that we've already discussed this and we're bringing it back again, number one. Number two, yep, the audio and visual will be going in there eventually, but this also is a good functional space. There's only a handful of times where we've needed space larger than this. But I also think could be confusing to some people when you're going from here to there temporarily and then going to move again to a new space.
I'm fine with that. I would make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to move the meeting location to the study hall by Stankowski.
I'll second.
I have a second by Nest. Any more discussion?
I like the idea of the additional, or encouraged community involvement, encouraging
Well,
attendance and.
okay, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
honest with you again, because I am. You could go from a basketball game to the meeting if you had to, but right now, because of sporting events and things, there are people that don't get a chance to come to our meetings. And then to me, that's a disconnect from what we're trying to do. I really think we passed this referendum because people felt that we were connecting to them, and we went with something that was just transparent and simple to the needs of the school district.
I don't have a problem with, you know, we are gonna be moving our meetings over there, and I think it is good, and I don't think we're here trying to hide anything in this building. I mean, I think we're being transparent here. I think the part that I do have a problem with, like Jessica mentioned, is that we had this discussion, we had a thorough discussion. It was voted to stay here, and now we're having a discussion again, which seems to be common practice now, which it never has been, so.
I'll just make the reference that we have 3 new board members.
We do. But every time we have a new board, I mean,
I think this will happen every time you do have a new board, because you'll have 3 new board members.
No, that has not been
Okay.
the way it has been historically.
And in the past, we've already had them, we did a trial. We did move it into the middle school, we had one in the elementary school, and it was not well received by the community or because trying to move everything was hard for IT, the space, people were getting confused. And as Calandra, I'm gonna piggyback off that as well, we're gonna be moving and moving again. And again, we get construction right now. I just don't think it's smart, at this time to move until we see how this school year's gonna start out. It's not that it can't be revisited after we see what's gonna be happening, but I just my opinion again.
Any more discussion? Okay, we're gonna do a roll call vote.
We'll start with Bauer,
Yes.
Nest,
Yes.
Nadler,
No.
Seabrook? No. Gorman,
No,
Kaiser,
Yes.
Maple,
No.
Stankowski,
Yes.
Levinsky.
Yes. Motion carries, right, 5-4? We will have the August meeting in the study hall then, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. All right, item 12, administrative reports.
I just want to touch on a couple things on my report, and I'll send a follow-up email to the board. There's some commitments that snuck up on me that I didn't get in the board report that I want you guys to be aware of. Number one, August 11th, and I'll follow this up with an email so you don't have to chicken scratch it down now. We'll have new staff orientation. We're going to do it a little differently this year, but I'll give you the time of when you can kind of come and introduce themselves. We've also invited the mayor to invite them be a part of the community of the school district, or somebody, a representative from the city, to welcome our new staff to the district and the city of Mosinee and the community. I think is going to be important. August 12th is the next day is our welcome back for the staff, so I'll get you that information. And then, as was alluded earlier, we wanted to tie the groundbreaking to an event going on in the school, open house, so the groundbreaking will be August 13th at 6. I'll be getting out formal invites to that to you guys and other dignitaries, city, legislative representatives from our area, Brent and Corey, and our Senator Tomchak, Representative Jacobson, and all those individuals will be getting formal invitations from the district coming up here in the next week. We just, Findorf just finalized the invite for us, so they designed it, so that'll be getting out, and we'll be putting that out publicly too as well on social media and other areas here coming up in the next week. The other thing I want to talk about, state budget. State budget was kind of a slow-going process, and then it went by in the flash of an eye in like 12 hours. The governor and legislative leaders came to an agreement on the budget. A couple things I just want to touch on with the budget. Probably the biggest thing I want to touch on with you is, if you followed it, the governor's veto of the $325 per pupil for the next 400 years made it was found to be constitutional by the state Supreme Court. So we get $325 per pupil for the next now 399 years or something like that. But in the budget process, there was no new aid added to it. So we have to understand that if the full $325 per pupil is going to be on the back of the taxpayer. They added no new aid to the formula. The state did not. That was a decision made during the negotiations between all parties. And There's a lot of stories I could probably surmise and tell you about that. I'll just leave that out right now. But so that's just an important thing to understand. And then a combination of we're projected to lose some aid next year or this coming year, a product of declining enrollment and a product, quite honestly, of fiscal responsibility because your aid is based on the amount you spend. And so we stayed within the budget. So on the aid formula, you get penalized for that because they pay you for how much you spend. You know, that hasn't been finalized. It's just an estimate right now, but the biggest thing I just want to tell you is, but Rod and I have been talking, there's some things that we did at the end of the last fiscal year, now that we're in the new fiscal year, that I think we have some flexibility to help offset some of that aid decrease with some Fund 39 levy. So we'll be working on that here in the coming weeks to try to ease that burden as much as we can, so it's not all. But one of the things we're going to have to do a very good job of is differentiating that the tax increase is not all referendum tax increase. We're going to have to make sure the community understands this is the amount of the referendum tax increase. We stayed within what we told you. This other part of the tax increase was outside our domain because that was all done in Madison and other places.
We probably need to start doing that now.
Right. Hence why I'm talking about it right now. So we understand that the referendum debt is going to stay within what we said. It's the other half of the equation that we don't have any control over with the decision not to put any new aid into the revenue limit formula. For those of you that are new, my general synopsis of school finance is A plus B equals C. C is the revenue, is the approved revenue limit. That's based off of so much per pupil, which next year for us is roughly $11,650. Multiplied that by our rolling 3-year average of pupils, gets you your revenue limit number, all right? And then you minus, and then the state tells you how much your aid is based on enrollment and property valuation. So what happens is as our property goes up and our enrollment goes down, we look property richer. That's not really a word, but we look more property rich. So therefore the property per pupil is higher, so the state says you get less aid because of that. And you know, so we're now kind of living in, you know, we're not nearly to the world of the Northland Pines and the Lakelands of the world that are extremely property rich and get very little state aid, and most of the taxes are paid by the taxpayers, most of the whole educational bill. But that's the way it works. And then so the state tells you what your aid is, so you minus C minus B equals A, which is the tax levy. And that's just the general gist of how school finance works in a very simplistic 101 manner. So we really only control 2 of those 3 letters. We control the tax levy and we control the revenue limit, but we really don't control any of that because the tax levy is the aid that they give us minus the revenue limit, and the revenue limit is all based on enrollment, and quite frankly, unless somebody has a great way for us to control enrollment, I don't think that we don't have a lot of control over that. But I will say I was looking at the paper and it was nice to hear that they're looking at a housing development being added out by Storybook Kids, so that's an exciting thing.
And the bottom line is most people, which I understand, they look at their property tax bill and they see just a percentage of what has increased and they usually get mad at the one that's increased the most.
Yep.
Do we have any numbers of new enrollments?
We don't yet. That was, I would say, Donna, we're probably about 2 weeks away from getting the final push of parents knowing what's coming. But that's something I haven't checked on lately to know. But the other good thing for us, twofold then, there was an increase in special ed aid from what they were originally talking, 42.5% and 45%. But you have to understand it's probably going to be closer to 41 or 40% because they base it off of this year's expenditures times a small inflationary increase that doesn't keep up with what the actual increase is. So it's like trying to predict tomorrow's money based on today's dollars, and
that
it's a
increased from
hard thing to
30
do.
to 41.
Went from 30, it was supposed to be 33, it was closer to 30 is what it was last year. It was gonna go to 35 and then 37.5, but through the negotiations, it got moved to 42.5 and 45. And then the other big change probably that impacts, there's a little bit of money in for student mental health 40 million the first year, 10 million the second year to spread out across the state on a per pupil basis. So obviously, we're gonna get all the mental health solved in the first year. It's not gonna be as much the second year. I say that in jest, because it's gonna be an ever ongoing battle. And then the other thing would be, not special ed, open enrollment went up, and since we're an open enrollment positive, obviously that'll be a good thing for us. The open enrollment reimbursement rate went up a little bit. Yeah.
So the conference that I was at over the weekend, Finance 101, that verbatim is pretty much what you said. All the school districts were lamenting over the numbers and the formulas, and now the 325 that's added to
Yep.
the taxpayers.
Yep.
There was a lot of concern over some of those numbers and some of those new things happening.
Yep.
But they were happy with the special ed
Yep.
raise, so, yeah.
So, and there's some uncertainty too, with how federal funding is gonna come in.
Right.
Certain aspects of title are getting pulled back, and I think they're gonna come to us in the form of a block grant, which would be about 25 to 30% less than what than what the state received. So, there's a lot of that uncertainty that played into this as well. But that's the general gist of what I wanted to add beyond what my report is.
Any other reports?
I don't know if the three principals want to
Well,
introduce
can-
themselves.
Yeah, would you mind just introducing yourself? Tom, you want to start at the elementary?
You bet. I'm Tom Fitzgerald, the new elementary principal. As you probably know, I was a teacher here in the high school for many years, and I'm excited and looking forward to this new change.
Thank you.
Middle school?
Hi, Kate Wallerstein, so joining Mosinee after been in education for about 17 years, but super excited coming from Everest and really, really excited to be home. So live right in town, my boys go to school here, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity and spending time wrapping up hires and meeting new people, getting to know new faces and learn policies and procedures and just kind of learning the ropes in the beginning, so.
Thank you. Mia?
Mia Schmiel, the high school principal. I actually just had a son graduate from the high school not that long ago, so, and I have a junior who's at the high school as well. My work through CISA, I've actually been working with the district for the last 8 years in different capacities, so being able to join the staff and be able to support the community through this role is really exciting. And just has been great to work with the folks in the office right now, and staff has been coming in, and just being able to make those connections has been great, so.
Welcome.
Kelly, since she's here.
Yep,
Kelly Remendini.
Yeah, Andy too. Any other?
Kelly Remendini, I'm the new athletic and activities director along with the dean of students, so been trying to get as many coaches hired and games scheduled and officials confirmed, so plugging away as best I can.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll just say all four of them are doing a tremendous job.
Awesome.
So it's been a good addition. I think we have a very strong administrative team. I'm not saying that just to blow smoke. I'm seriously saying this is probably the best group of individuals I've ever worked with in terms of, and I would put us up against any, minus the issues with the superintendent. Everybody else is doing a great job, and I'd put it up against anybody in the state of Wisconsin. So we
Awesome.
had a great meeting today, and so there's a lot of, as those on the curriculum committee probably heard, there's a lot of great
Did you
things
guys
that are
do
going
your
on.
retreat already?
Yeah, we were up in Lowenwood and Land O'Lakes, late June.
Were you drinking water, not soda?
Yes.
Good.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's gonna help our numbers.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, anything else? Anybody question? Okay, item 13, other reports, the WASB report.
Okay, well, Donna, were you the only one that attended the?
Yep.
Okay, well, thanks for the update on that. I see that the fall meeting is coming October 1st. I didn't see anything come through on that yet, so I was happy to see that.
Yeah.
And if anyone wants to register, reach out to Jackie.
Yep. October 1st, it's again at Cedar Creek, the Holiday Inn at Cedar Creek
Yep.
is where it is, so scheduled there again, and I have not seen what the meeting is about this year. I think I just saw something come across my email that the dates were out for it, so I wanted to just get it on everybody's calendar now, so you can take a look at that, and that'll be on the next couple of board agenda, so it's not like I need an answer today.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you very much. Item 13.2, CISA 9 report.
CISA 9 did not have a meeting report this month. In June is their achievement awards. Mia could probably speak to that, but, and their banquet and their meeting, but they did not send minutes of the meeting per se.
Thank you, Donna. Okay, item 14, future agenda items. We have, Greg, you just want to go over them?
Yeah, Booster Club endorsements are due next month. A lot of this is recurring agenda item stuff. Annual meeting agenda, proposed budget, Act 20 presentation, athletic director report. I moved from July to August. I thought I'd give Kelly a couple more days to get her feet wet before I asked her to present. And then there's been some question on school board member pay, so I did have a conversation with legal on that and how that works. So I'll just give you we'll want to have some conversations to prepare ourselves for the annual meeting with how the language should be done there.
Just so everybody knows, there's a salary cap
Yeah.
for school board member pay, and some people would want to remove that cap.
Yep.
Just so everybody
We
knows.
just need to, I just want to get, the language we had is very fuzzy, and we need to have much clearer language this September to articulate what we want. So I would like to have us have some language ready
And
for
because
that
it
meeting.
has to be done at the annual meeting, it's got to be pretty sensitive.
Yep.
Are there any other topics you'd like to see on the agenda? You always can email me or Greg, anything you want to discuss. Okay. Item 15, we will move into closed session. I will need a motion, a second, and then I think we do roll call vote. We have a motion by Zebra,
One second.
second by Gorman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Roll call.
And roll call.
Ness,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Zebro,
Yes.
Gorman,
Yes.
Kaiser,
Yes.
Maple,
Yes.
Stankowski,
Yes.
Kaminsky,
Yes,
Bauer.
Yes.
motion carries. All right, we'll take a 5-minute break and then we'll go into closed session. Thank you for coming.
You guys want a picture? I'll still bring my camera.
No, next month.
Next month.
We're gonna need a warning.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Yeah.
Rolled in hot support today.
Come on.
For real, that's